Rebecca Wild Horse had been lying on the ground for a day and refused to get up or eat. When Ranger Francis was finally called, he immediately rushed to the scene. As he stood in front of the horse, looking at it intently, he knew something serious was going on. He wasted no time and called a vet. Ranger Francis knew he had to hurry as soon as he got a call about a piece of land he protected. Once Ranger Francis arrived at the farmer's house, it was still a little drive to the horse. As they drove on Farmer Frank's tractor, he told Francis about the horse. He had spotted it early this morning and figured it was just resting. Luckily, soon after, he could see the horse lying in the field in the distance. Luckily, Ranger Francis knew someone who worked as a veterinarian, so he could arrange for him to come as soon as possible. Not long after, veterinarian Theo stood beside Ranger Francis, looking at the horse with the same worried look on his face. Theo began to walk around the horse to see if there were any visible injuries, but there weren't any. As there were no visible injuries from the outside, veterinarian Theo told the men he had to perform an ultrasound. And Ranger Francis's worry was proven to be right, as veterinarian Theo grabbed a portable ultrasound machine out of his truck and walked over to the horse with it in his hands. The horse began to move and make distressing sounds. It was trying to get up and run away, but it simply couldn't. It truly was a heartbreaking sight. "What do we do now if we can't even get close enough to the horse?" Farmer Frank asked worriedly. Francis and Theo looked at each other. The wild horse was in clear distress, which wasn't good for his already weakened state. They had to sedate the horse. Veterinarian Theo quickly walked back to his truck and got out a little briefcase. Out of the briefcase, Theo grabbed a very long needle filled with the sedation. Veterinarian Theo then put some gel on the shaven area and got to work. He glided the ultrasound machine slowly over the horse's belly, looking at the screen intently. As Theo methodically scanned the horse's belly, the ultrasound monitor flickered with an unusual image. The shape, unclear and unexpected, appeared on the screen. Theo's brow furrowed in concentration, while Francis leaned in closer, both puzzled. "What is that?" Francis whispered, his voice tinged with concern. "If this doesn't make sense," he mumbled, running his hand through his hair. Francis stood beside him, his face mirroring Theo's confusion. "Could it be an injury or something else?" he asked, his voice laced with worry. Francis and Theo stepped away from the horse, discussing the possibilities. "Could it be a tumor or maybe an abscess?" Francis suggested, trying to piece together the puzzle. Theo finally paused, taking a deep breath. "We need more expertise on this," he said decisively. He reached for his phone, ready to call a colleague who specialized in large animal surgery. As Theo dialed the number, the weight of the decision set in. They were stepping into uncharted territory. Theo's fingers moved swiftly over his phone, dialing the number of a renowned large animal surgeon. As he explained the situation, his voice was steady but tinged with urgency. After the call, Theo and Francis found themselves in a tense wait. They watched the horse, its breathing steady but labored. The minutes ticked by slowly, each one heavy with worry and anticipation. Knowing the specialist would soon arrive, Theo and Francis began preparing the area. The crunch of gravel announced the arrival of the specialist. A car pulled up and a figure stepped out, carrying a bag of instruments. Theo and Francis approached, greeting the newcomer. The specialist, a figure of authority and experience, surveyed the scene with a professional eye. The specialist wasted no time, immediately examining the horse. With a practiced hand, they palpated the horse's abdomen. "We may need more than just an ultrasound," they suggested, hinting at the complexity of the case. "After a thorough examination, we need to transport this horse to the hospital for further tests," they declared. Volunteers worked in unison, guided by Theo and the specialist's instructions. Francis supervised the operation, ensuring every step was carried out with precision. As the trailer began its cautious journey to the hospital, a collective sense of hope and apprehension filled the air. With utmost care, the horse was guided onto the vehicle. The process was slow, each movement calculated to ensure the animal's comfort. As they reached the veterinary hospital, the atmosphere was a mix of relief and anticipation. Inside the hospital, preparations for surgery commenced with swift efficiency. The horse was moved to an operating room, large enough to accommodate its size. In the operating room, a hush fell over the team as they began the surgery. The room was filled with a sense of purpose and precision. Midway through the procedure, the lead surgeon's hand paused, drawing the team's attention to a spot on the screen. "There's something here," he announced, his voice tinged with surprise. A foreign object, unexpected and out of place, appeared embedded in the horse's abdomen. The discovery brought a new urgency to the operation. With utmost care, the surgical team worked to remove the foreign object. As the object was finally freed, a collective sigh of relief was breathed. The first critical step towards the horse's recovery had been achieved. Once removed, the foreign object was handed over for examination. With the surgery completed, the horse was gently moved to the recovery area. The veterinary team worked to ensure its comfort, monitoring vital signs and providing post-operative care. Determined to protect these majestic creatures, Francis knew that solving this mystery was crucial. Francis began his investigation by collecting information about the horse's habitat and recent activities in the area. Poring over the data, Francis began formulating hypotheses about the foreign object's origin. Could it have been an accidental encounter, or was there a more sinister explanation? Realizing the need for more expertise, Francis reached out to local wildlife experts and enthusiasts. Taking a decisive step, Francis dialed the local police department, his voice steady as he reported the strange discovery. He detailed the events leading up to the horse's surgery, emphasizing the unusual nature of the foreign object found. His call was met with immediate attention, the seriousness of the situation clear. The police recognized the need for their involvement, marking the beginning of a new chapter in this unfolding mystery. Shortly after Francis's call, a squad car rolled up to the scene. 2 officers stepped out, their expressions a mix of curiosity and professionalism. Francis greeted them, quickly bringing them up to speed. The officers listened intently, taking notes as Francis recounted the events. The police began a thorough sweep of the area, collecting any potential evidence. They interviewed locals who frequented the area, gathering accounts of recent activities and sightings. As the investigation progressed, the police started to form a preliminary theory regarding the object's presence. Their discussions with Francis and the locals, combined with the evidence collected, led to speculative conclusions. Francis pointed out the horse's tracks and the path it likely took. The officers took detailed notes and photos documenting everything. Locals shared observations about recent changes and unusual occurrences in the surroundings. These community members, familiar with the rhythms of the land, offered valuable perspectives that had previously gone unnoticed. A breakthrough came when one local mentioned seeing unusual activity in the area a few days before the horse was found. This eyewitness account described unfamiliar vehicles and people near the location, arousing suspicion. The police officers took a keen interest in this lead, recognizing its potential significance. Armed with the new information, the police began focusing on identifying potential suspects. The investigation was gaining momentum, drawing closer to uncovering the truth. A local farmer approached the police, hesitant yet determined. He recounted seeing strange activities on the night in question, vehicles in unusual places, people acting covertly. His account was the breakthrough the police needed, providing tangible leads to pursue. His detailed description of the vehicles and people involved was a turning point in the investigation. With the witness's information, the police uncovered a smuggling operation in the area. The foreign object found inside the horse was linked to this illegal activity. Upon further investigation, it became clear that the horse had accidentally ingested the foreign object. The police theorized that the object was dropped or hidden in the area, and the horse, grazing nearby, had unknowingly consumed it. They cross-referenced vehicle registrations, checked surveillance footage, and conducted background checks. Each piece of evidence brought them closer to the culprits. Plans were laid out for coordinated raids and arrests. In a swift operation, the police apprehended the suspects involved in the smuggling ring. One by one, the culprits were taken into custody, and their illegal activities were halted. The successful operation marked not just the end of the case but a victory for the law and the protection of wildlife. The story of the wild horse and the smuggling operation quickly caught the attention of the media. Local news outlets and beyond began reporting on the incident, highlighting the impact of illegal activities on wildlife. The story sparked a broader conversation about the importance of protecting natural habitats and the creatures that inhabit them. Francis found himself at the center of this story. His role was crucial in the unfolding events. In the wake of the case's resolution, Francis was recognized as a local hero. His dedication and tireless efforts were celebrated by the community and his peers. Local organizations and residents expressed their gratitude, some even organizing a small ceremony in his honor. Francis, humbled by the recognition, knew that his true reward was the safety and well-being of the wild horses he so dearly protected. Finally, the day came when the horse, fully recovered, was released back into the wild. Francis watched with a mix of pride and emotion as the horse galloped away into the open fields. The area where the horse was found had since received increased protection and surveillance, ensuring the safety of the wildlife there. This incident marked a new beginning, a renewed commitment to preserving the natural beauty and inhabitants of the region.